Welcome back to the Nautical Chronicle. We've had a quite extraordinary last couple of days. We've been interviewing people nonstop, starting with Fortisax, then going on to Capitalissimo. Last weekend, I hosted Morgoth's Review, and then Iron Duke. And for the last guest appearance of this particular round of guests, I'm being joined by Dave Martel. We've had one Pennsylvania-centric stream before, where I interviewed the three different Old Glory Club chapter presidents across Pennsylvania: the Pittsburgh president, the Philly president, and the Central PA president. Where we went through the various histories of each chapter, and then we got into the eccentricities of Pennsylvania and its regionalisms. And after that stream, I thought to myself, all right, who's the most chauvinistic Pennsylvanian that I know? And guess who I found? It's, of course, the one, the only, Dave Martel. How are you
Hey,
doing, man?
I'm doing good, Mr. Claus. How we doing, bud? Thank you so much for having. I'm so pumped for this. Yeah, I've always wanted to have a whole stream where we could just yak about this because, as you said, PA is near and dear to my heart. My family line has been here for generations, and it's such a special place. And we can we'll get into it. But I just thank you so much for having me, bud.
No, it's my pleasure, and I'm very very thankful to all of the loyal listeners who've followed me for all of these years. It's I went through something of a 4-year hiatus, only to come back and have just about all of the old heads come back as
Right.
usual. No one on the internet truly disappears. Um, but before we actually get into anything, I have to ask you. I'll just pull this up now. What kind of Pennsylvanian are you? Are you a Sheets or Wawa Pennsylvanian? Because this is actually very
Ah.
crucial. We've had several big, like almost schisms within the Old Glory Club chapter community over Sheets versus Wawa.
Okay, so I'm gonna ruffle everybody's feathers here.
Oh no,
So
you're not
I'm
gonna
from
pick like Royal Farms, are you?
Rudders. No,
Or Rudders, God
no,
forbid.
no, 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 no. So I grew up a Sheets guy. My whole life,
Mm.
Sheets guy, right? I'm also, shout out Turkey Hill. We can't, hey, Wawa's was originally just like a Turkey Hill ripoff. So I gotta say that. But my whole life, but Sheets has gone downhill recently. They did
Hmm.
like an expansion. They added like a bunch of crap to it. And I don't know, the food it's not what it used to be. But I am lifelong a Sheets loyalist. But I will say, if you're from Philly or you're from, that other place
Let's
across the,
see.
yeah.
So this is like the old map that I first showed was like from I think 2021. This is updated. So red being Sheets territory, yellow being Wawa territory. Um, Anyone from around Philly and Jersey is, going to be a proud Wawa chauvinist. Everyone else is, easy Wawa. I do think that you're right though. Like the service at Sheets has gone downhill a little bit. But after experiencing a few, I don't know, not very pleasant experiences at Wawa, I think my general consensus is that Wawa has better drinks. Sheets usually has better food, and
Mm.
I think most Pennsylvanians generally will concede. Um, but I think Sheets still has like the much better like interior, um, where it's a lot easier just to get around and find whatever you need to actually see.
So Wawa used to have edge because Wawa used to like remember we were kids in the 90s. Wawa was kind of a deli, right? So they actually had pretty strong hoagies, right? But Sheets, but they've gone downhill too. It's like they're not even really worthy. It's not really worthy adversaries anymore. But all day Sheets, they got French fries, they got pretzel rolls, they got a much bigger menu. A lot of times they got some better prices. Except right now, Wawa's got the hoagie fest going on, and I know everybody's been going for $6 hoagie, $5 hoagies, whatever that is. But
Well, yeah, I've noticed that like Wawa has like these really weird like little deals that they actually try to promote. Like what's their coffee deal? It's like Tuesday coffees or something. Uh,
yeah, they got little gimmicks going on, but all day Sheets. As far as the
mhm.
legacy of Wawa versus Sheets has a better legacy, right? First, even to this day, Sheets has a better breakfast sandwich. That's always been my go-to. If I have to swing by, I have to eat some shitty gas station food. It's the breakfast, the schmuffin, sausage, egg, and cheese schmuffin is money.
Yeah, like I've had quite a few like coworkers that just have their kids get them schmuffins or whatever. One of the guys in the comments says, Infernal says Sheets attracts a lot of stoners. Is a lot of downs is the only downside.
Quit
I I,
lying. He
I
was one of them stoners one time.
well,
How many of us have hung out in Sheets parking lots when we were like teenagers and
well
shit?
I do have to say like when you want like like greasy like filler food, like if you're stoned, you don't go to Wawa, you go to Sheets.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's it's kind of divisive, but it is what it is, and I think in general, Sheets is overall winning the war. Um, let's see.
We got the Sheets versus Wawa battle map up here.
Yeah, it's like if you want to have like some kind of like Wawa has very dense like fully occupied territory
It's a
around
fortress. Yeah.
the fortress around Philly. Um, there are all these little Wawa holdouts. Like
Yeah.
they own the South. Um, but in terms of like Pennsylvania isms, um, let's see. A little while ago, let's see. Yeah, I wrote a mega article on the Whiskey Rebellion
Mhm.
that ended up being something like 40,000 words. Quite a behemoth. And I guess the second chapter of it ended up being called. Ended up getting into early Pennsylvania history,
Mhm.
called raising West Sylvania. Um, like West Sylvania being this one proposed like 14th state um, towards the latter end of the American Revolution. Didn't quite happen, but we're kind of close. Um, just due to certain legal gray areas as to who owned like West Virginia, like who like there were a few corporations that owned East Kentucky. Like Virginia even claimed like the entire southwestern area around Pittsburgh up until the Constitution. So it's just a big no man's land. But I I don't know how much like I forget which area of Pennsylvania you hail from. Was isn't it aren't you from like somewhere in central PA or
Yeah. I'm from Central PA. I was 717 Tri-County area. And yeah, so yeah.
like in my studies of Pennsylvania history, like a lot of the way that I found it described in a few different tomes of textbooks is that Pennsylvania was settled like uh, the inner core of Quakers settled Philly. Like they had
Mhm.
like William Penn himself. He actually gave a pretty decent deal, for between like like 50 and 100 pounds. You could get both a townhouse in downtown Philly, and you could get like 50 to 100 acres of land outside of Philly as like farmland that could lease out to whatever wagey who couldn't afford land. It was a pretty good scheme. And then Philadelphia, just outside of Philadelphia, there's like a ring of Dutch, not just Dutch, but also Pennsylvania Dutch, like Germans that ended up settling.
Yeah.
Um, One thing that I found that was kind of strange was this one passage from on the frontier with Colonel Antes, uh, where this one German made the claim that the Dutch essentially went to these starving German peasants because France was going through scorched earth wars in Germany. So the Dutch went to these starving peasants and said, "We'll evacuate you," and then they shipped them to Philly and then starved them until they signed like indentured servitude contracts
Yeah.
and sold them to the highest bidder. Um, it was they did not have very high opinions of the great Dutch sellers of souls, stuff like that. It's I also found some esoterica like have you ever heard of Kelpius's cave?
No.
So William Penn was a tolerant fellow, and tolerance has some downsides. One of which was the fact that if you're so tolerant, you attract a few different crazies, and one of which was Johannes Kelpius. I'll try and Kelpius. He was this eccentric. How do you say? He was this eccentric, Romanian Rosicrucian doomsday occultist.
Okay.
So he create like, of course he went to the caves outside of Philly with his like the cult of the Whispering Mother or something like that. They believed that the world was going to end in 1694, and so they built all sorts of observatories and lived in caves outside of Philly. Um, yeah, the Cave of Kelpius. It's just outside of Philly. Um, if I remember correctly, Survive the Jive was going to visit it when he tried to come to America
Yeah.
for one of your one of your moots, right? Something
Yeah.
like that.
Yes. Tom was en route. He was going to come and celebrate the Folkish Summer Hollowing with us. I believe not last year, but the year before. And a bunch of fed monkey business got involved, and they blocked him, and just some goofy stuff happened. He couldn't come through, but yeah, he was going to come, and he was going to do some. I believe he was going to do some history on Pennsylvania and stuff like that. But you're talking about living in caves, and there's. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
There's all sorts of those like weird little niche, like little colonies that develop all over Pennsylvania. Like right on the outset, the Frankfurt colony founded Germantown as this like little German enclave in like the Philly suburbs. You know, you have all sorts of Dutch and German and Moravian enclaves all over central Pennsylvania. Like you have the wild Scots Irish doing all sorts of like hood gang violence like all over the place. Not just on the frontier, but it's a wild hodgepodge, and it's not nearly as uniform as like the South with like the planters and of like Virginia, or as homogenous as the Puritans up in New England. It's different in Pennsylvania. I don't think anyone really has a good conceptualization of like what our trajectory was. Not to put too fine a point on it.
Yeah. A lot of people don't really realize that Pennsylvania was something a little bit different, right? We kind of in school we learned this narrative of, oh, these people founded this state, and then these people incorporated this state, and then it became a state, blah blah blah. And Pennsylvania had a little bit of a different history, right? If you go look at the original maps of the Pennsylvania colony of Penn's Woods, which was really one of the first settlings of the what we could eventually be call America, right? You had the Virginia colonies, and there were some other. You had the French up north and out west, and the Spanish. You had like some other people, but nobody like was really setting roots yet, as far as what we would call to be or what would become America. You had Virginia colony, and then really not that long after, a couple years later, you get Penn's Woods, and then come the Germans, the English, obviously, the English first, and then the Germans. You mentioned the Dutch. The Germans came through in quite large numbers at this point. This is the first you're talking about, like the first German. I believe this was the Palatine migration. This was
the German Palatinate.
Yeah.
Like first settlement was like in 1682, I think, and then the first Germans started coming like only 4 years later.
That's when my ancestors landed.
Yeah, with like the Frankfurt colony, and then they really came after was it Queen Anne's War and all of like the German devastation. The Amish, of course, all these insane dissenters hop over. Most of them assimilate, but the Pennsylvania Dutch don't. And I've always been kind of on the fence with regards to like feeling towards the Amish. A lot of Americans broadly have a lot of sort of based sympathy for the Amish, but I don't know, man. They're kind of a split, kind of a mixed bag for me.
Yeah, well, it's kind of hard. So it's kind of hard. Are you Pennsylvania Dutch ethnically?
I took like a genetics test, and I went through the family tree, and about maybe a quarter German Palatinate, about half English, and the rest, Scottish and like French and stuff like that. So I've got a solid quarter, like mostly like a solid quarter German.
Yeah. So my father's fan. I'm on my father's side, 100% Pennsylvania Dutch the whole way through. They landed. You were talking about the Palatine. My father's family landed here, and on the paper it says 1689, which back then, who knows? It could have been a year or two. Record keeping wasn't quite as good during this time. It's actually pretty tricky when you get back that far in the New World record keeping as far as genealogy goes. But they first landed in Philadelphia in the 1680s. And, you mentioned a few of the things that happened. Germantown was established, XYZ, and they got moved westward, right? And eventually they end up in, I don't want to say because there's like 5 family names in the county that right. But they got pushed west, and the experience of German descended peoples is a little bit different. I think for a lot of Americans, it's really easy to kind of just be American and just kind of go into the monoculture of Americanism, because a lot of them are, especially now, very deracinated. But for us that are old blood Pennsylvania Germans, it's kind of hard to forget some of the old grudges that were there. And we didn't get treated too nicely here. And I'm not trying to paint like a victim narrative or anything like that. But so it's like, and also we lived right. You're talking about the Amish. We lived right next to them. I grew up some of my first jobs that I did doing construction were working with Amish crews. So I know what they're like. I actually know what they're like. I know what their communities are like. And on the outside, they do some things right. They have the religiosity. They have in-group preference. They are very nepotistic. They they have tons and tons and tons of babies. We're talking. There's a YouTube channel called Massa Man or something like that. He did the Pennsylvania Dutch. They're on track to becoming an ethnic majority by 2050. Their birth rates are through the roof. So they do some things correctly, but when you live next to them and you deal with these people, they have something. Like you said, it's a mixed bag. They also have somewhat of a very toxic matriarchy, and there's a lot of the men are very henpecked.
I feel like that's the case with like a lot of, especially low church Protestant denominations. They just have a very like matriarchal, kind of system. My hesitation with the Amish mostly comes from the fact that they sometimes try to skirt around federal environmental regulations
Oh yeah,
and dump like pesticides into that leach into streams and kill fish,
they don't
stuff
care
like
at
that.
all, at all.
Yeah, and also like deer drives that end up going onto other people's property. It's not very cool.
It is the worst if you're out hunting and either the Amish or the Mennonites show up. If you're out trying to deer hunt, especially the Mennonites, because they have vans, right? They drive them Yoder motors, those big black
Mhm.
Chevy vans, right? The cop hazard, and it's like it feels like like they're like clown cars, like like a funeral procession of black vans pulls up. They open up, and all of a sudden, there's 140 people. There's everywhere. The kids run through clanging deer antlers all throughout pots and pans. They chase out the deer. They shoot all of them. They load them up and they leave. And it's just you can't hunt. And they don't care about you. You are even my real last name. I have a real typical German last name. My real last name is very typical. I'm not gonna say it, but it is.
Right.
I speak a little bit of the Muttersprach, right? I know a few phrases and words and everything. Even me, who is ethnically Pennsylvania Dutch name, speaks a little Dutch. When I go there and I talk to these people, they ease up a little bit, and they kind of, but still at the end of the day, to them, I'm English, right? And they do not care. They don't care. They will gouge prices. They will try to rip you off. Now, that's not to say that they're all sleazy scumbags and do business like this. If you hire an Amish builder, for
Yeah,
example,
I've had no qualms with Amish and Mennonite contractors because they are some of like the hardest working, most efficient. Like you know, one good Amish contractor is worth a dozen like Hispanics that you can hire under the table, and they're well worth your money.
yeah, and their
Um,
builds are tremendous. They follow like it'll be perfectly built.
I also like the fact that they won't take insurance because if they accidentally drop like a tree on your house, like I've I've heard them personally say, well, we'll have the whole church out here if you drop a tree on your house. We'll fix it. It's
Yeah,
almost better than insurance because do you really want to deal with the hassle of like these bills rather than you know good old Amish boys coming out and doing it themselves. Um, Infernal also says in the comments like puppy mills.
yeah,
Lancaster County is puppy mill capital of the U.S. Unfortunately, but it's it's um it's not great, and a lot of the breeds that they you know actually try to make money off of end up being kind of they don't feed them right. They mess up some of some of the genotypes and really aggravate the American Kennel Society or whatever. But the American Kennel Society has their own like issues, in my opinion, like just breeding certain deformities into some dogs and stringency having its own issues. But puppy mills, not a huge fan. Um,
yeah. They're old like 1800s cult. They're a cult enclave of from the 1800s that has changed very, very little. They're not going to be nice to animals. They're not, they're going to have weird opinions about sexual behavior and culture, and they're weird. They're going to have weird stuff that they do. And for people that like look on the outside and look at some, because they do, shout out to them, bless them. They do some things very, very right. They're very fertile. They're very, they do some things right. But me personally, I like getting my bip sipped. I like I don't want to bang my wife through a sheet. Yeah, there's days
Yeah.
I don't want to like work myself to death, sun up to sundown. I want to go take a nap and drink some beer. I like drinking beer. I like drinking beer. I like I like music. I like stuff that the English society has. We can talk about if it's good or bad or whatever, but I like to enjoy life and everything like that. And the entirety of their religious, their Weltanschauung is to sort of rob you of all earthly pleasure. They don't wear jewelry. They don't have cool clothes. They look like they're funeral directors from 1832. They have weird like Abraham beards. The women, like, they're all very homely, and also on top of it, they're not really people that you could sit down and have a conversation with. They're not really interesting people. They're obviously they've been sexually selecting for who has like the smoothest brain and the hardest hands and the strongest back for the last 300 years. Of course, they're not going to be sitting down to talk about meta politics or freaking deep lore of some cool fiction setting. They don't have that kind of knowledge or interest.
I did find like have you ever seen what is it, the ye old Ben Franklin like map of how Europe looks?
Yeah, he's worse than
Who's
Lovecraft.
who's who's actually white, who's tawny, who's swarthy.
Yeah.
Um, it's he. So this is actually from a pretty good piece of political economy called "Observations Concerning the Increase of Mankind," um, where he does make an exception. In Europe, he lists out all of the swarthy complexions, but as the Germans, the Saxons are the only accepted, who with English make the principal body of white people on the face of the earth. Um, he does actually go into, you know, why should the Palatine Boers be suffered swarm into our continents and herded together, establish their language and manner to the exclusion of ours? Why should Pennsylvania, founded by the English, become a colony of aliens who will shortly be so numerous as to Germanize us instead of our Anglifying them?
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, he's right after quoting like Polybus, he's his main concern in this particular essay on who's swarthy, who is tawny. Um, his main point was a sort of proto explanation for why America will develop its own separate political economy from Great Britain because of
Yeah.
our frontier creating a whole different character, and uh, how the settlement of wild lands and the rapid increase of our peoples will create like a whole different breed of peoples like on the frontier, and how we won't actually suffer to be mercantile slaves on a banana republic. The vast distance between the colony and the motherland will seek to manufacture our own stuff eventually, uh, and we'll multiply on the frontier because we have living space. But at the same time, the quality of the people does matter, or the quality of the founding stock does matter, and who makes the impression over who does matter. Um, I don't know. It was
He wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong.
well, a lot. What a lot of people don't realize is that um, Ben Franklin, the sort of archetypical colonial Pennsylvanian, isn't actually Pennsylvanian. Uh, he's from Massachusetts,
Yeah.
but he ended up becoming the sort of archetypical, like how would you say, sort of archetypical like middle class striver, founding all sorts of striver societies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, but um Pennsylvania, like I was just thinking about like Franklin. We have the oldest political party system out of all of the colonies, um, just because we had like the first um, the first like assembly that you know was encouraged to have political parties. We had the Gentleman's Party versus the Quaker Party.
Yeah.
Um, it's and we had our own like election riots as far back as like the 1720s, as like bad as our politics got. um it's that some things don't really change, um and you know, as far as some things never changing goes too, Philadelphia, I have a lot of strong feelings about Philadelphia, but he you know, William Penn designed Philadelphia to not have alleys and to never be susceptible to fire or plague. And then, you know, 60 years later, there are both fires and plagues and ghettos in the middle of the alleys
Yeah.
just because of how fast things grew. And it's never really deviated from that ever since.
Yeah. It's dude, Philadelphia is I know it's the thing to talk bad about Philadelphia. It's it's such a shithole, and this and there's a lot of those criticisms are correct. It stinks. It's full of trash. There's like Somalis walking around and stuff now. Even the newer enclaves of European immigrant, Little Italy, is not what it used to be. It's Germantown doesn't have any Germans in it, but it's so hard for me to just fully get on and hate Philadelphia, because when you go to the historical district and you really see how beautiful that city was, it's very sad. For me, anyways, it doesn't feel good to talk bad about Philadelphia. I don't have this kind of like ruralite resent towards just all cities in Philadelphia. Philadelphia, they used to call it the London of the New World or something like that.
I'm I'm trying to find like a Philadelphia like a Philadelphia stereotypes map or something like that to like actually properly break it down, because like you're right, like the historical area is just fantastic. Um but West Philly like it gets very rough.
North Philly's rough.
Like North Philly's rough.
Are you guys
Um,
South Philly, South Philadelphia?
let's see. Okay, so this
Go
is
Birds, go Birds.
yeah, like come on, where is it?
Yeah, go to Wawa, get you Zahagi,
All
fucking
right.
jag off.
So in terms of stereotypes around in terms of stereotypes around Philly, um so where is it? Yeah, there's like I remember there's like the little triangular area that has like the really good like cheesesteaks.
Oh yeah.
I remember like this like southern area of Philly is starting to get a little bit gentrified, but the white people are starting to come back. Downtown is just expensive as hell. Um, yeah, this is rough. And if I remember correctly, like one of like a truck ran into like a bridge somewhere up here, like knocked out the highway for a couple weeks, something like that. Let's see. Yeah, if I remember correctly, like on the west side of Philly, right around like the miserable doctorate students. Just north of them is the ghetto, and
Mhm.
like as soon as you step outside of like Temple, like their campus grounds, you end up with crunchy crackheads
Oh,
as the stereotype map says.
fentanyl crawl, bud.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, it's bad.
it's not good.
Yeah, there's so I lived in South Jersey. My wife's from South Jersey. I got a New Jersey war bride. But I lived in South Jersey for a while, and I had a few jobs. I'd work in Philly and all that stuff. Um I came to appreciate a lot about Philly and South Jersey. New Jersey gets too much hate. We hate New Jersey too much. The real enemy is Ohio. Ohio sucks.
Yes, Ohio is like the worst. Ohio's
The
the
worst.
worst.
South
Um,
Jersey, they got Panzerati's, they got beaches. Yeah, they dude, not Atlantic City, but dude, there's so many like nice little beach towns that are just beautiful. Yeah, just Jersey's not bad, right? You get out of Camden, you get out of the Camden County. South Jersey specific is pretty nice.
s-
Ohio is a wasteland. It's
mm,
it reminds me of the Mad Max set of like we're talking like Road Warrior, except with corn and Mexicans. Everybody's drunk, everybody's retarded. Ohio sucks. It's probably the worst place I've ever been.
uh, I'm trying to swap out the actual view just to go to like Google Maps or something. Yeah, South Jersey is like, especially along the coastal strip, is just beautiful. Like
Gorgeous.
I don't mind Atlantic City that much. Like as like a dry city, it's also gambling. Long Beach Island is getting more exclusive each year and like walled off. Cape May is gorgeous.
Beautiful.
Wildwood and Ocean City gets a little bit
Yeah.
trashy,
You
but
want to go? You want to go to beach? You gotta go. What's it called? You got Ventnor Beach. You got what's the other one we always go to when we go down the shore? Um, I can't remember. My wife. It's a real good one. There's lots of good beaches in Jersey. You got some of the best beaches.
y- like we don't, unfortunately, we don't have any beaches
Unless you
in
want to go up to Erie and get
Philly.
like step on an AIDS needle or something.
Well, like I've been to Erie quite a few times, and yeah, it's kind of a wasteland. Like the entire downtown area is under construction. Um, they have like 5 different yacht clubs though, and like all of the boats are like abandoned, even in the summertime. It's not very. I Pennsylvania beaches. There aren't many, and they're not particularly anything to be too proud of.
No, no, no. We got a couple lakes. Yeah, we got some nice rivers though. We got some nice spots to go boating. You float your fanny down the Susquehanna, right?
Well, have you ever been to Pittsburgh,
Yeah, I've been
S-
down to Pittsburgh.
Don? Like I found another like little judgmental map of Pittsburgh, and
Yeah, gay
I
Stillers.
yeah, the Stillers down by the creek. Um, for people like who haven't been to Pittsburgh, it's something like a small tip of like built up urban like mid rises, and then 2 massive hills on the north and south side, then rolling hills like just east of the Jewish community. um, but it's actually not getting too bad like around downtown Pittsburgh. Like it's really turned around over the last like 30 years, where it used to be just this god awful, um, like post industrial hellscape. Um, if you see the ghetto down here, that's where John Fetterman's from. Um, and let's see, yeah, they have the tip that is like mid rises, like the southern area of the tip is like all the universities. The northern side of the tip is like quote unquote cultural district, the strip, and all that. That's like restaurants and bars and stuff like that. The same with like the north side. It's restaurants and bars and arenas and stuff like that. And it gets kind of mixed. Like I'd give like mixed reviews to everything else around there. In
Yeah,
terms of
Yin's
city,
got the Polacks downtown.
well, I don't think it's here anymore. Like there used to be was called the Polish it's Polish Hill or something like that. It's right on this like south side, like south of the tip of Pittsburgh. It used to be like Polish Hill or something like that, but now there aren't any Poles anymore, and they converted like the old Polish church into like a like craft beer like bar. It's kind of sad. Like even the North Shore where Andy Warhol is from, uh, it's no longer Catholic at all. I'm trying to find like.
And for the record, the craft beer thing that's been going, PA, we've been doing craft beer for years and years. And, people been brewing, and there've been little breweries and stuff in PA since before the craze started. You know what I mean? Like when it started coming, like, oh, craft beer. I'm like, what is a craft beer? You mean like a microbrewery? You mean like Yingling? Is that
No, no,
yeah.
like the like as like a Pennsylvanian, like we do love our Yingling. Like here in Pittsburgh, we have like IC Lights,
Iron City.
Yeah, Iron Cities, like ICs. I forget what the other like big like we have both Victory, which is like around Philly.
You got Trogs,
Trogs, which
you
is
got Lancaster LBC.
I'm trying to think. Like there used to be. I used to have like this this like political compass of like beer, like like different people who drink different types of beer, but I lost that meme somewhere along the way.
Yeah, you got ABC from Harrisburg, Appalachian. You got East End. You got Conshohocken. That's one. You got
tiny little microbrew though.
Yeah, it's time. You still buy them though when you're out that way.
What's it called? Something Dog. It's the Delaware brew. It's it's like the 60-minute IPA. Dogfish Head.
Dogfish Head. Dogfish Head. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a Delaware thing though.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they were recently bought out by Sam Adams. Which, as soon as I really wouldn't be too disappointed if like the owners sold their precious brewery for tens of millions of dollars and then rode off into the sunset. I don't have a good map of Harrisburg just because there's not much to Harrisburg.
No, you got the White Shore, right? you got the White Shore, and then you got the funky part of Harrisburg. Then you got you got the hills, right? And then you got I don't know. Harrisburg sucks. Harrisburg's like the worst city. Maybe it's got the least amount of good stuff in it. It's really gone downhill over the years. But we're like talking about all the bad stuff. Let's PA, for you guys that listen that have not been to PA or spent a lot of time in PA. Pennsylvanians, there's a handful of states. Oh, is this Harrisburg?
Yeah, this is just Harrisburg.
Yeah, Harrisburg. Yeah, so you
got buildings.
Yep, and
yeah.
Yep, you got the West Shore. We call it the White Shore.
Like the mat, they have like the tiny mall and various suburbs all over the place. Then you get kind of rough around Harrisburg.
Yeah, but you guys. PA is it's a unique place because there's a handful of states in America where people are really about being from there, right? Texas is one. Don't mess with Texas. There's a handful of states that are like that. Pennsylvanians are very, very proud, but in a more cynical way, I guess you could say. But what's unique about Pennsylvania is when we were just like we were talking about, there it is a place that has had groups that have been isolated for so long. My numbers are going to be wrong, but last time I checked, I believe they said there was 13 distinct accents just in Pennsylvania, which is the most in the country. And then the next one, I believe, was like Louisiana or something. They had like 6. So we have people have lived in the valleys of Pennsylvania for sometimes generations and generations. So much so that like for example, the county I grew up in, I could tell right away that you were from the county next door just by how you talk. You have that kind of. That's how much regionalism is kind of there. Go ahead, Klaus.
I'm trying to find like a good map of it. Like I do remember there was like I do remember there being like the coal accent, like up in the northeast.
Nipa, yeah.
Yeah, there's a sort of like the Pittsburghese that has like a little bit of like Polish slang, like injected every little once in a while. Like people say yins instead of
Use.
Uh, I don't know though. Like Central Pennsylvania, it always kind of blends together. Central Pennsylvania, in my opinion, outside of like the Amish areas.
Yeah. So yeah, you got like the Amish accent, and you have the Delco, right? You got Delco accent. You got Pittsburgh, and then up north you got I can't even do. They have like it's almost kind of New Yorky kind of accent, and the Amish or the Dutch country, I guess they call it, accent is its own. Yeah, going down the mountain, hey. Yeah, come to Pennsylvania, it's a real treasure. They talk real funny. Yeah, these fucking filthy Catholic girls giving blowjobs around here now. Right? They have this
What kind of like Irish accent is this?
That's the Dutch, dude. That's how they talk. These filthy fucking Catholic girls.
I don't know. That just sounded like a bad Irish accent, to be honest. Yeah. Like it's. I don't buy that that's real.
That's real, bud.
I don't know.
Go up to Skook, bud. Go up to Skook, you'll hear it.
Well, I should do some sort of some kind of scouting expedition, like a field trip up there, just to confirm that the accent's real. Because I don't buy it. Like the Schuylkill, yeah. Like speaking of the Schuylkill, like that godforsaken river. For those who don't know, the Schuylkill is like the river that goes from Philly, like up north ish. And like a couple years ago, the Schuylkill decided to flood and ended up like totaling my car.
Oh shit!
It was just god awful, and like this, it's one of the most polluted rivers in the country. You go fishing in it, you pull out like 3-eyed carp. You can't eat it. Don't touch it. Radioactive.
Yeah. I thought you got Susquehanna with 3 Mile Island meltdown in the 70s. Yeah. My mom's dog died.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, my cousin got fucking cancer on his face after it happened. It's crazy. Huh. Yeah, they covered it all up. It's a big scan. You guys listen. Go look up about the 3 Mile Island meltdown. It was a freaking scandal in the 70s. There's a lot of PA is like we got some. We're like beating it up. Yeah. Let's talk about some good things. We're beating this place up too hard.
So first off, we are the first Texas. Like everywhere in Western Ohio used to have like an oil rig, like plopped down in the middle of everywhere. We used to be the largest like oil producer for for a solid couple decades. Let's see. Yeah, we were like US's like first capital for a few different times. I've been to Gettysburg quite a few times, and it's an absolutely gorgeous and preserved battlefield. All the monuments are still there, and all of them survived the Summer of Floyd. Like South Central PA is, you know, bucolic and both bucolic and cheap. Like North Central PA has it's kind of middle of nowhere, but we do have um, we do have Groundhog's Day up in Poxitawney.
Puxatawny Phil.
Yep. Pittsburgh has like dropping the was it dropping the pickle for New Year's Eve?
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. First, yeah, the PA Turnpike was like the U.S.'s first like main highway. Um, I did actually get into this for the um I did get into this for my article on the Whiskey Rebellion that went over. Come on, where is it? Yeah, the main. It's called Forbes Road. It was the path that General John Forbes took to conquer Pittsburgh in the first place.
Mm.
But that ended up becoming, you know, the actual PA Turnpike. And yeah,
Yeah, before we
Washington
run out of time, we
made
got
it
to talk
here.
about food, but we got to cover the food.
Oh, of course. Like Pennsylvania is the was it the snack, the snacking capital of the world with like Utz and all of the different pretzel manufacturers out here.
All right, let me tell you guys, this is you. If you guys don't even know what potato chips are, if you've never been through PA, you can go to any little grocery store and there'll be like 5 different brands of just like kettle cooked potato chips, Zooks, Diffenbachs, all that stuff, Goods, freaking Martins, all kinds of good potato chips, snacks, Birch beer. You've never had Birch. Let me tell you, Birch beer, chicken pot pie. Let me tell you, not only do we make, when you come to PA, if you order chicken pot pie, it's a soup. It's wonderful. It's a chicken stock with these big fat. We call them. They're like, yeah. It's more like a dumpling than it is a noodle, but it's this big fat freaking. It's delicious, and also we dominate the meat pie. Right, we call it a meat pie. It's a pie with your meat and stuff in it. Scrapple, pretzels.
Scrapple.
Dude, Scrapple's unreal. I love it.
Well, I think it's great as like a general breakfast food. Like slice it thin, fry it, and put it onto like a sandwich, or put like some I don't know, some maple syrup on it and just eat it. It's fine. It's not for everyone though. It kind of stinks up the room when you cook it.
It is for everyone. Don't listen to them. It's real good. It's real pork roll. You got it. And then you can get down and dirty with the Dutch food too, bro. And obviously cheesesteaks. Cheesesteaks are just classic now, right? It's actually a really cool story about cheesesteaks. It was like this guy Pat Olivieri, like just made he just ran a hot dog cart and he just like fried up some steak, and a bunch of people started gathering around asking for it. So he's like, all right. So he opened Pat Steaks, and that's where Pat Steaks comes from. But cheese steaks, freaking also,
so
go ahead.
Where do you stand on Cheese Whiz on Philly cheesesteaks?
So I usually go, if I get it from a place, I'll get provolone. I'm also a little funny about, I like to make my own cheesesteaks. I get the top round, and I got a deli slicer in my kitchen. I slice it up. I get the good rolls, good Italian rolls, and I actually make my own whiz. I use Cooper cheese and cream and everything like that. So I make my own cheesesteaks. Don't give me steakums. Don't give me this crap. I want a real cheesesteak.
My parents seem to have like a certain nostalgia for steakums, but I decided to actually try them a few times, and every time I was, I don't know, a little disappointed.
Yeah, come over. I'll make you the best cheesesteak you ever had. I promise. Yo,
You
it's
you
changing
said you
lives.
used the round, right?
Top
Rather than
round, yeah.
yeah, top round rather
Yeah.
than yeah. Um, let's see. Like, of course, we have a lot of pride in Hershey's.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
Milton Hershey. I just did a whole show on Culture Dads about Milton Hershey. That guy is incredible. Incredible man.
yeah, like we have the wild range of eccentric like tycoons. Um, like Hershey being probably one of the more benevolent of them. Um, what was it? There was like there was this like Erie, Pennsylvania railway tycoon. His name was Jay Gould. Uh, he was
Mm.
probably one of the most notorious and frankly evil, um, you know, robber barons of the late 1800s.
Yeah.
I remember finding this one wild quote from him that was like something like, I wish I could hire one half of the working class to kill the other half," or something really
Oh my
ruthless.
God.
And he, little bit rough, not gonna lie. But he's, you know, we also have, Heinz. Like, there's a lot of like Heinz museums all over the place. Andrew Carnegie, of course, gave away most of his fortune after he died, and now his kids are only really like, they don't really have like a big fortune anymore. Their entire fortune is just, it's locked away in charity. So all that the Carnegie heirs can do is like, host galas in Andrew's name. It's kind of sad.
I'm looking at your map here. You got Tasty Cakes. You got freaking Snyder's. Oh man, the Snyder pretzel bites. The was that the honey mustard and
The,
onion?
yeah, the one with
That's
like the little
jam.
fillings. Yeah,
Yeah, hell yeah. But dude, you guys, I'm like got my mind on the food. I'm sorry, but
I'm just trying to zoom in. I'm gonna try and zoom in a little bit,
come to
because
PA, get a shoe fly pie, get some pierogies, get some cream chip beef, get some hog maw, get some chow chow, freaking pickled eggs, Lebanon bologna, all that. Go
well,
crazy.
you bring up shoe fly pie. If you do, you have to get it from like an Amish source. Just because I think there's like this one Amish store like in Lancaster. Like, every time I drive from Philly to Pittsburgh, I end up visiting there and getting some kind of pastry from them, and
Mm.
the Amish seem to make it best.
Yeah, if you pick it up and it says shoe fly pie, and then underneath in parentheses it says Molassenkuchen. That's how you know it's good stuff.
Um, I think we're like the Pony Express radio is usually a few minutes late, so I think we should start wrapping it up. I'm gonna go through a few of the comments just in case I missed anyone or anything. Um, yeah, don't forget New Sweden. Like, we well, people don't know this, but the log cabin architecture of the American frontier actually comes from the Finns of New Sweden, who introduced it to the Scots Irish, who are coming over. And this weird hybridization of like Finnish log cabins from like modern day Delaware, plus like Northumbrian like shanties, create the modern day log cabin. It's, I don't know, kind of cool.
That's cool.
Let's see. Oh, Pennsylvania gun rights. Pennsylvania is very has very good. Well, it has historically had very good protections on Second Amendment rights. Up until kind, I I don't know how the Assembly has been doing recently, but it's, I don't know.
Still
It's
good.
still pretty good. Um, take the Susquehanna pill. like the Susquehanna is great for like fishing, kayaking. It even has like river otters nowadays.
It's beautiful. The country here is, dude. So Pennsylvania is everywhere you go. Even if you go to the cities, the moment you go 10 miles or 10 minutes outside of a city, you're in the mountains. This is in the mountains here. Some of the oldest, this is some of the oldest Earth on the planet. The mountain ranges here are older than Saturn's rings. It's deep, it's spooky. The forest, it's so much green. Especially if you're from the south, you'll be amazed by how green it is here. Just it's gorgeous in the autumn. You go drive through the mountains, man. The reds and the orange, it's like a riot of colors. It's absolutely gorgeous. This is a beautiful piece of land, and people that are from here love it for a reason. We have so much good food, deep history, and deep roots here. Despite all the corruption, and we're tough people. It's hot as hell in the summer. It's miserable in the winter.
God awful right
God
now.
awful. It's like I could go on and on, but we love it here.
Well, when I was researching like early Pennsylvania history, apparently the Iroquois called central Pennsylvania the land of demons, just because of how high the mountains were and how spooky the thick, old growth trees and forests were. But
it's also haunted. We got a lot of hauntings and cryptids and weird spooky. I have some stories I could tell. We should do a part 2. I got some good stories.
We'd have to get into like a part 2. I do recall though that the Susquehanna Indians called the word Mohawk is an exonym. That's not what they called themselves. Mohawk is actually an exonym in Algonquin. It means cannibal or like man eater. And that's what the Susquehanna called the Iroquois. So there's a little bit of shade being thrown on both sides. Yeah, Turnpike, First Real Highway, Hershey, Scandinavians in PA. I don't know about that. I thought that was much more of a Midwestern thing.
Great Lakes.
Yeah, like a Great Lakes, like all the way out in like Minnesota and the Dakotas, the real Scandinavian territory. Although, like I guess the Finns being in like Delaware kind of counts, but I don't know. The one Scandinavian being that signed the Declaration of Independence coming from Delaware, of course. But do you have any? Should be good to start wrapping things up.
Yeah.
I should have had this running in the background, but forgot to flip this on. Please purchase editions of Dave Martel's Bizarre Archives.
You want me to just run my shills quick?
Sure.
Yeah.
I was gonna pull up your Twitter real quick. But right. Yeah, you can run through your shills.
Yeah, guys, if you like based fiction, pulp fiction, you go over to thebizarchives.com and go buy books in the traditions of science fiction, cosmic horror, and sword and sorcery from authors old and new and up and coming, all affordable prices. Great stuff. You guys are going to love it. Go check that out. You can also check out some of my podcasts. I'm over at Culture Dads. It's culture with a K, culturedads.com. Over there, I do a job. I do a podcast with Mike from Imperium Press. We're two based publishing dads, do deep dives into retro and pop culture and history and philosophy. And then also we have Hearthfire Radio, which is if you're into ancient European spirituality and stuff like that, you have Survive the Jives over there. You got the Golden One over there. Got lots of great some of the big hitters, the heavy hitters from that scene over there doing great content. You can check it over there at hearthfireradio.com. So Bizarre Archives, follow us on Twitter and Telegram at the Bizarre Archives, Culture Dads, and Hearthfire Radio. And Mr. Clausen, God bless you. Thank you so much for having me on. And everybody else, fucking mock scoot.
Oh, it's well, thank you for being such a gracious host. Even though this show is technically just me putting together ships, all I was able to accomplish here was putting some masking on top of the white sections of the hull, so I can repaint the bottom red. Because I was a little bit silly, and I accidentally touched the white paint and then touched the bottom of the hull, and now it's got
Ow.
splotchy. So didn't do that. Didn't do too much in terms of building. I'll probably do a whole lot more actual putting together stuff in the next round of speakers. But thank you so much, Dave Martel, for being such a gracious host or gracious guest.
My
And
pleasure.
I will see all of you guys after the 4th of July.